So welcome everyone. My name is Asna Fareen and I'm joining Relearn from Bangladesh. I'm currently located in Bangladesh and heading Abdul Qadir Mullah International School as head of primary and PYP coordinator. I belong to India and I'm working here in Bangladesh. So I'm really elated and excited to be presenting at Relearn. And what I really like about the entire extra educational extravaganza is like we are trying to reimagine, redefine, and reinvented educational practices, which is the need of the hour. And this COVID situation made us realize that yes, there are systems which need to be changed, and one of such aspect is assessments. So right now, what we all are wondering as educators is how to assess students, how to make sure that they are not cheating, and what not. So let's discuss about assessments, and yeah, here we go. So yeah, let me present it. All right. So the talk is about deciphering the process of effective assessments. And as I introduce myself, my name is Asna Farheen. Moving ahead. So before we move ahead with the talk, what do you wonder about today's topic? What do you think about assessment? What does it mean when we are talking about deciphering the process of effective online assessments? So just pen down your thoughts, or you can share it in the chat post session. We can have a good discussion about it. Yes. So this is something which I have done earlier as well, right? So my name is Asna Fareen, and it is all about me. I'm a pedagogical leader. I'm a teacher trainer, and this is something which I love doing. And in this COVID-19 period, I did it a lot. So because we all need support, and we need people of the same fraternity because we understand our challenges better than others. So yes, as I did a lot of teacher training, I attended a lot of teacher training programs, and again, I'm a loss and learning mentor. I'm a writer for pleasure. I love writing, and some of my blogs got published on International Baccalaureate blog, sharing the PYP blog. Almost, I wrote it thrice, and yeah, that's it. Fine. So, what are we going to rediscover and discuss today is philosophy of assessment, assessment strategies, tools and techniques for preparing effective online and offline assessment. Philosophy of assessment. So this is the same question that I asked few days back in one of my training, and I would like to show you what did they say. So I asked them, what is assessment and what is your philosophy of assessment? How can you define it in one word? That what is the major idea when it comes to assessment? And this was the result. Most of them think that it is evaluation, it is judgment, measurement, and you can see it's talking about exam. And the majority think that it is evaluation. And the second, like which are majorly uh, used by many of the educators, like measurement and judgment. Before we talk about it further, let me share what is my philosophy of assessment. So, what we believe, so I belong to primary years program of International Baccalaureate, and we think that assessment is integral to learning and teaching. When we talk about assessment, we see it as a process which foster the symbiotic relationship between the learners, learning community, and learning and teaching. So, an assessment should be well aligned with the written curriculum. What do we want our students? to learn, and the taught curriculum, what do we want them to teach. So this is something which I believe assessment should be think as a support system for students to learn better, rather than evaluating and judging them. As you can see on the screen, this is a great man and he's an intelligent man. And what is he saying? He's saying that everybody is a genius. So we need to believe in the principle of teach each child. And he also said that, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So this is what is happening in present day educational system, that we are judging, evaluating students by one single way, and we are labeling them, tagging them, that these are the slow learners, or these are the average learners, and these are the high achiever. This is what we are doing, right? So but he has a very different opinion. And then as I showed you the results of taken from one of my workshop from the uh, teachers, which also talks about judgment and measurement. And let's see what he has to say about measurement. Everything that can be counted not necessarily count. So I say whatever we are learning, everything needs not to be measured and everything can't be measured, right? So, and if we are measuring also, do we think that it is unbiased? Do we think that we have discovered or understood all the aspects of student learning? So this quote actually made things more explicit, that we really need to reinvent the process we are using for assessing the learners. Assessment strategies. We are going to talk about some of the assessment strategies. I'm also going to show some of the strategies that we are using. Oh, stopped. That we are using in our school. And yeah, before we move towards assessment strategy, let's talk a little bit about the assessment tools. So whenever we are thinking about leveraging or infusing the technology for assessment, we need to think about the SAM model, which talks about enhancing the learning through technology and transforming the learning through technology. There are various ways to do it. For example, Google Forms can be used as exit ticket. Google Forms can be used to promote different reflection routine. Google Forms can be used for visible thinking routine. Go Formative is again a very good platform to create assessment and view responses in real time. I love Floop as well. Quizzes is a way to gamify, so it assists students, but in a way where the way they want to be assessed. It is more student friendly. Peer Deck is again a fabulous tool. It helps us to cater to the social and emotional learning aspect also. It has a slide deck which talks about critical thinking also. And we can completely design a great interactive slide so that we can see student responses in real time. Peer Deck is great. Nearpod is again a very good tool. Edpuzzle. So Edpuzzle can transform any of your lesson video, which is a video, into a visual lesson, a video lesson. And it gives an opportunity to embed questions which you want students to ask. Those questions can either be a selected response, or it can be an open-ended questions where you're asking student what do they think after watching the video, what are the three things that they have learned, what are the two things that caught their attention, what is one thing that they have question about. So you can use it in any way. So Edpuzzle allows you that. Google Classroom rubric. So when we want students to see what will be the performance criterias, I suggest it should be built in collaboration with the students. So this is one way. Google Classroom rubric is again a great way to create rubrics. uh, let's move on. So before moving ahead with this slide, let's talk about the types of assessment. So I think that we can use a metaphor over here, which I really liked, and it says that consider that students are taking part in a race, and they are racer, and teachers are the coaches, right? So before starting the race, when we are thinking about what is the best strategy that can be utilized, and but when we are thinking about like how much do they know, so it's a kind of pre-assessment. So if a coach and a runner is doing it, actually they are involved in diagnostic assessment. When race has started and just going on, and the racer and coach are discussing about what are the ways to improve the strategy and make it more appropriate for the learner. Do the coach need to use any other strategy? Where students are introspective, are they using the strategy well? So all this kind of conversation, both formal and informal, counts as formative assessment. And when at the end, the race is over, and teacher and students are thinking about what did they do well, and what are the next steps in the coming races, what how they should be dealing with the strength and the challenges. At the end, this is happening, and this is summative assessment. Another beautiful metaphor that I love using is thinking student as plants. So when we are growing a plant, what do? We are much concerned about the growth of the plant rather than measuring it at the end. So when we are growing the plant, we try to give all the essential conditions which foster the growth of the plant. We supply all the micronutrients, macronutrients, we take care of the sunlight, water, and all the optimum conditions which are required for the growth of the plant. And when we think that the plant is fully grown, at the end we measure it. So what is more important, measuring a plant at the end, or supporting a plant with the growth? So here I feel that formative assessment plays a vital role when it comes to improve students performance, learning outcomes. And basically formative assessment is something which is used formatively when the learning is still going on, right? So how to use assessment for learning and assessment as learning? When we are using both, what we need to do? One thing is plan and share. Plan assessment concurrently and integrate it seamlessly into the instructions. It should not be an excluded part of it, and students should be there together to plan the assessment, co-construct the success criteria, and they should be participating as active agents of their learning. Now, share the learning goals. Share what are the learning intentions, what are they learning, and what should be the success criteria with students, so everyone has a shared understanding. And this gives an opportunity for a dialogue. If students think that no, success criteria looks different for them, and they think that this can also be the success criteria. So this is the first step of making your learning and learners more self-directed and more self-reliant. Second is gather and give. Gather and give feedback. Gather information about students' learning before it starts in the form of diagnostic assessment, during the learning in the form of assessment as learning, and assessment for learning at the end of the instruction is assessment of learning. When you are gathering the information, it is important to use it to inform learning and teaching practices, to inform instructions, and it should be used both by the learners and by the teachers as well. So give and receive specific and timely descriptive feedback. There is a great research that feedback has a great impact on students' learning, right? So but how to give feedback, what type of feedback should be given, we will be talking about it in the later slide. Develop and engage. Help student to develop skills of self and peer assessment. It is very important that student take the front seat then it comes to assessment as well. We are talking about students should be involved in self-directed learning. So what is the basic of that self-directed learning? When they know how they are learning, what they are learning, how can they transfer, how can they change their weaknesses into strength, what do they need to learn, where they are lacking, right? And in this dialogue, if we involve peer assessment, so that works wonder, right? Engage student in individual goal setting, monitoring, and reflecting on learning. Reflection is very, very important. They need to be reflective about how they are learning, and it is important because it helps them to become more metacognitive. Then they think about their thinking, and they make better choices, and they take better decision, and they become more well informed about the learning processes, rather than gathering second-hand data from a teacher or a peer or any third party. They know what they are doing, where they're heading, what are their learning goals, and what are their learning targets. I would like to give you some of the examples. Okay, as I told you, I belong to primary years program. So here is an example of how do we do it. It also gives an example of how we are leveraging technology. So this is a Padlet, and this is about the prior knowledge of the learners. So see what strategy has been used. This basically talk about a strategy which is an ongoing process throughout the learning journey. So it gives us an evidence how they're growing in their learning as they move forward in the learning process. So this is a strategy that you can see. It is link, list everything that you know, inquire about what you want to know, and now we are going to take notes. So students are listing everything that they know, so teachers are being well informed about the conception and misconception. Do they have, what do they know, so they don't waste time teaching the same thing which they already know. Inquire about what you want to know, right? So here learners are taking the front seat, they're taking the ownership, and they are deciding what do they want to learn and inquire about. Second thing is, now we are going to take notes. When they are moving forward in their learning journey, they are taking notes and jotting down their understanding, the developing understanding. At the end, the K column will be filled, and students will jot down what do they know now. So this gives us a complete picture, a comprehensive pictures of the students growth, right? So this is one example. Another example that I would like to give you is using thinking routine. So this is connect extend challenge. Sorry. So this is an example of Connect Exchange Challenge. Students were divided into different groups, and they worked together to develop an understanding using a visible thinking routine. So what are the questions that were used? How are these ideas and information connected to what you already know? What new ideas did you get that extended or pushed your thinking in the new direction? What are the challenges? So this particular task was used when they were learning about adolescence, and they showed their understanding using the visible thinking routine. So this is again a great example to know what students are learning and how they are progressing in their learning. Okay, here learners, they think critically and reflected on different experiences. So they actually reflected on a questionnaire, and they showed their understanding about their life, different stages of their life. Learners formulated, they themselves formulated 10 yes or no question for a survey, and they conducted a survey to gather the data. And the funny thing that we have used is, when they were making the questions, we were sorting the questions into two categories: the skinny question and the fat question. So they understood the skinny questions are the questions which have a yes or no answer, and the fat questions are the questions which goes deeper and are more open-ended in nature. So that was great. Another thinking routine that we have used is color, symbol, and image. So this is, again, we use a Google Doc to help the students to showcase their understanding. So in this task, learners showed their understanding about relationship. So what color they can, assign to their relationship. Some of them said white, because there should be peace in relationship. There shouldn't be fighting, and the symbol that the child used is a plus sign with green color. And this is an image which he think is a perfect relationship, because child believes so. A great way to showcase how they are progressing in their learning. Learning contract. So here we used a learning contract. Well, I'm accessing it through my personal ID. So this is creating an issue. Let me fix it. It will work now. Fine. I'm unable to access it. Fine. So this is a learning contract. Here, what happened? We are not dictating that you have to do this. Rather, we are building a consensus, a kind of relationship with the learner, where they are taking the ownership and accountability of their learning. So the learning contract talks about what do they want to do. Would they like to write a report, or they want to put up a demonstration, or they want to develop a computer presentation, or is there's anything else that they want to do. So it's all about giving choices to the learners. And I'm going to talk about more about this is a part of differentiation in my workshop. Okay, fine. Self-assessment, we are talking about self-assessment. So this is a great way to help make learners more self-reliant and help them understand that they know where they are lacking and what are the ways they can improve. So this is an example of self-assessment, where learners actually self-assess themselves on approaches to learning. So this is one example. Learners are always reflective, so we use variety of reflection. So here we use Mentimeter, and through Wordles, through Graph, and we also take care of the social and emotional learning. So how are you feeling today? It is very important to ask, and most of the learners said that they are feeling happy, right? In the second example, learners showed their understanding about the word growth. And in this next example, they showed their understanding about change. There's a typo. And then we discuss about, the soft skills as well, because we plan. TYP is, believes in backward planning, but it's also forward looking. So there are things which we plan, but there are opportunities which always go beyond planning, because it's about student where they are taking their learning. And then they think about what soft skills, basically the attitude, which is now subsumed with the learner profile, and also the approaches to learning. So in this example, they're basically talking about which profile did you achieve last week, right? So they are also thinking about approaches to learning. This is again an example of learner profile assessment. So here they are thinking about what did they demonstrate and what did they develop, and they're also writing a reason for it, which, so they're highlighting which learner profile they have developed and why do they think they have developed it. So they're giving an evidence of that, yes, that's how they have developed it. This is again a great way to take unit reflection. So this is an example of end of unit reflection. In this, the teacher used the strategy Rose, Thorn, and Buds, and students, they uh, highlight the success or something positive that happened in their learning journey. Thorn, they have discussed about a challenge that happened in their learning journey. And Bud, what are the new ideas that emerged during the learning journey. As I showed you initially, that they use the Padlet, and where they show the complete learning progression from listing down what do they know, talking about what would they like to inquire, taking notes, and further reflecting on what do they know now. This is again one of the example, KWL. Most of the educators know about it. This is a slightly extended version of KWL, KWL HLAQ. So they prepared it. So what's KWHLQ stands for? What students already know about the concept, what students want to know about the concept, how they will research for to find the information they want to learn. So this question has a lot of weight because it is helping them to understand how they can take autonomy of their learning, how they take ownership of their learning. So they're thinking about what tools we will use to do research, or how will we gather the information, what learners have learned, the L column, and A, which basically talks about how will they apply their knowledge into the real life setting or a real life scenario. And learning never stops. When you're learning, there are questions. So the last column talks about questions. This also can be used throughout, when you are dealing with a concept, and it gives an idea of the learning progression. This is used when learners research about different government system, and they were reading articles and they were jotting down things. So scan, read, jot, repeat, right? So they come up with this strategy that we are going to use this strategy for taking notes, and they skimmed and scanned the information. They read those part, they jot down their understanding, and then they further repeat what have they gathered throughout uh, the reading process. Concept maps are always a great tool, and we used the strategies generate, sort, connect, elaborate. So they generate a list of ideas that come to their mind about the concept that they were dealing with, and it was decision making. And then they sorted the ideas based on the complexity, and then they further chunk and connect more ideas with the ideas which they have listed down, and then they further elaborated the idea. So this is again a great strategies to foster thinking. This is an example where learners use mind map. They were learning about rights and responsibilities, so they showed their understanding through a mind map. So you can see, and fine. So when we talk about this kind of learning, we want them to use their acquired knowledge to a situation which is more challenging, or a situation which is more relevant and significant to them. So as they were learning about constitution, they made their own constitution, class constitution. That was a fun part. So this is something designed by one of the learner. and he used PPT to showcase it. It talks about right of a learner, responsibilities of a learner, taking care of stationaries and stuff. So a little example of the constitution of the class. What do they want, and how what will they do to balance the rights and responsibility? So these are some of the example. I'm taking you back to the main presentation. Well, we were talking about different ways to gather student understanding, to record and to document how they're learning. And now we are going to talk about self-assessment. So when you're starting the self-assessment, don't overburden them. First, let them imbibe what are the basic characteristics of a good summative assessment. You need to do a lot of modeling, and so start with the self-assessment of familiar tasks or performance using clearly identified success criteria. As I said earlier, also when you are designing the success criteria, it is important to involve students. They should be knowing what does the success criteria look like instead of you telling them. Practice using anonymous sample. When students become more confident, allow them to practice. So give them a practice using any of the sample, and by asking them what should be the success criteria, and they are uh, understanding that this is how we make the success criteria and this is how we get ourselves involved in the self-assessment. Observe, circulate, and give feedback to support student self-assessments. When even when they're involved with the self-assessment, you need to observe how they are self-assessing themselves. You need to give them feedback. Probably they might not come up with the criteria which are much required for that task assessment. So you can support them by asking meaningful questions. Next is this is a sample which you can use for as a learning goal template. Uh, where they are listing down what are their learning goals, what are the steps they will take, what will the success look like, and target date and achieved, when did they achieve it. So this will give them a structure to be involved in the self-assessment. Again, the second example talks about week by week learning progression. You can use it for learning journals where they are listing, it's a long-term planning. So where they are listing the learning goals. Peer assessment is highly important, but they need to be coached for it, right? So they need to know what is the language that can be used, and how we can connect and collaborate with each other to receive a constructive feedback rather than pointing out something negative, right? Otherwise it will have an adverse effect on their learning, on the relationship. And as I said, assessment should foster student well-being and should foster a better, more positive learning environment. So when you're involving student in peer assessment, they need to have a language which is more friendly, more constructive, and more positive. Well, some of the strategies and tools that you can use is traffic light. This is a very easy strategies where students are using color codes to showcase their understanding. Uh, yeah, so I was sharing the strategies and tools. So some of the strategies and tools that actually foster better relationship and gives a common language to learners to share and receive feedback is traffic light. We use it here in our school. So green show the work addresses the success criterias. Amber, that indicates a room of improvement. Red suggests that the success criteria is not evident. SWOT analysis, where students are talking about the strength, that the areas that shows evidences of success, weaknesses, sections that need work, opportunities aspect that could be further developed. So they are discussing using this kind of language, threats, obstacle to improvement. So what do they think that why those weaknesses are there? So they are also reflecting and giving a kind of feed forward as well, that what can be done. Feedback burn is again a very good strategies, and a student enjoy it a lot. So we give them a kind of format where they write a positive aspect of the work. In the filling section they write what aspect of the work could be improved more, and the bottom section they write about a positive aspect of the work again. So they are giving a constructive feedback that yes, these are the positive aspect of the work and this is how it can be improved. Weather gauge is again a similar kind of strategy. So warm positive feedback in relation to success criteria. So they're closely observing the success criteria and they're giving a positive feedback. Indicates the cold indicates areas of improvement, hence provide advices. So they are guiding their peers to perform better and what can be done to meet the success criteria. Stars and shares. So this one is a great tool which can be used either as self assessment or peer assessment. So identify where the work meet the success criteria. Shares. So we again give them a template and they are involved in conversation with the peers and they're talking about what are the stars. Shares suggest steps for making improvement to the work. PMI chart plus meets criteria. So what are the pluses in their learning samples which they are assessing for their peers, minus criterion not evident where they think that they did not meet the success criteria. All they talk about interesting, so something to improve, and they also suggest ways to improve. When we are using feedback, it should be used as a ladder, step by step. So step one is involves reading, listening, asking and clarifying questions. So I had a dialogue between the peers who are assessing, right? Identify. Step two is identify the strength. Step three is identify the ideas of improvement, and step four is suggest ways to improvement. In the physical classroom, teachers usually hang the feedback ladder and they use it to give feedback, and this is how students understand that okay, these are the steps to be followed when they are giving feedback. And this helps to avoid spreading that negativity when they are saying something negative, because the other person is also ready that they are going to listen about the positive feedback, the positive also, and the negatives also. And when they are listing something which is not good, they are also suggesting ways to improve it. Checklist and rubric also gives a structure to peer assessment and self-assessment. So checklist is like look for what do we need to look for as success criteria when we are assessing a sample. Rubric gives a more better idea because it talks about the level of performance. So what does it look like at different levels? Thinking at De Bono's thinking at also we are using in for assessments, and it acts as a great tool. And in here in the online classroom, teachers are using spinners, and where they are running the spinner and they are asking that okay, wear this hat and choose a sample which you would like to assess. And students are wearing different hats and looking at their peers work from different angle. Well, when we are setting up a routine where we are expecting our learners to be good peer assessor, it's important that they know what are the success criteria. They are listing it down, they are writing that no, yes, the success criteria are met, or no, it couldn't be met. And then they are helping their peers with writing suggestions from there and try this. Another way is writing like what worked well, how can be even more better, and what are the next steps. These are some of the sentence which can be used initially to model the peer assessment. You did a good job when. You could work harder on. What would you consider changing? So this gives this gives kind of structure to their dialogue when they are involved in peer assessment. They're discussing about something you did well was you could get some help with. A next step for yourself should be you're good at, you could be better at. So these are, some of the positive language where teachers are modeling. You can hang it as chart in the classroom, or when they are using it they will become used to of this kind of language. uh, Strategies for student self-assessment is, it is great if they are maintaining a learning journal, either a hard copy or a soft copy, as a digital copy, probably using the Google Docs, or if you're using Seesaw. So a learning progress should be visible, and there should be ample of opportunities of reflections. Uh, as I showed you earlier, they can use it as a learning continuum, how they're progressing in their journey by listing down the goals. Portfolios are great, and we can even ask students that what type of portfolio would they like to articulate their understanding. Do they like to use the showcase portfolio, or to just to show the best piece of work, or do they want to use the growth portfolio where they can show the complete progress at where they were, where they have reached, that way. So one of the group of students chose a growth portfolio, and they used Google Slide. As I told you that we couldn't go for Seesaw, and I think I mentioned it now, right? So here students use Google Slides to showcase their learning using hyperlinks from the original work. And further, what they did, they had a one-to-one conference with the teachers, where teachers and students, they decide upon that, yes, this work shows growth, and here you were and you showed this kind of improvement. This is how you grow in your knowledge, this is how you grew and in your approaches to learning. And they finally had student-led conference, where they lead the conference and demonstrated their enduring understanding in front of their parents. So one of the aspect of assessment is reporting also. So reporting shouldn't be done in a way that teacher is reporting. It can take various ways through which we can involve the stakeholders and make these conferences an opportunity to set goals. So we have different type of conferences. We have student-led conferences, three-way conferences where parents, teachers, and students work together to set goals. We have teacher parent conferences where teachers formally inform about the growth of the learners. So all these conferences should be viewed as an opportunity to set goals for upcoming learning. Some of the sentence prompts that can be used for student reflection. Today I learned, now I know. So what can be the prompt? What is one thing you learned today? What was the most important thing you learned? What questions do you still have? What success did you so asking these kind of thought-provoking questions help the learners to reflect on the learning process. So we are not only worried about the end product, rather we are also focusing on the process, how they are learning and how they are understanding the learning process, how they're using the process to learning to learn better. So these kind of sentence stems and prompts can be used for the learners while you are modeling the student self-reflection. So you give them this, and this gives a structure to students to work well. They will not struggle that what to write when it is being asked. to use the sentence starter can be used to reflect well. So initially you can give them this, and slowly and gradually when they'll become used to, they will start using it more independently, that okay, today I'm going to use the prompt, I'm going to reflect on the strategy that helped me to learn better, and I'm going to today reflect on what is something which I'll do differently next time. So they will choose on their own once they become used to. But initially, when you're starting the self assessment, use this. Fine. Now we are going to talk about another important aspect, that is feedback. Feedback is vital, and it has greater impact on student learning, but it should be dealt with care. For example, the teacher is saying, life could be worse, Colvin, and he's thinking that life could be a lot better, right? So the teacher is assessing the report and giving a kind of feedback which is negative, right? So when we are giving feedback, we need to make sure that it is timely, it is constructive, and student is receiving it. It shouldn't be like we are doing a monologue, and it should be specific, right? What are we giving feedback on? Are we giving feedback on acquired knowledge? Are we giving feedback on revisiting a skill or skill development? Are we giving feedback for the next steps? So we need to be very specific, and which area needs to be improved, and we can give them some suggestions as well, that okay, this is how you can improve. Or we can open a dialogue that probably the student might have missed that time and he knows it, so he himself will realize that this could have been more better if I would have done it in this way, right? So feedback to feed forward, use feedback sandwiches, positive comment, constructive criticism, and positive comment. I showed an example when we were discussing about the peer feedback. Build reflection into each lesson for feedback. So in each lesson, give them opportunities to give feedback. Feedback can be from teacher to student, student to student, and student to teacher. As I told you, when they're using traffic light and showing that this is green, I know it all, or this is amber, I couldn't understand it, or this is yellow, I understood it, but I need more help. So you are getting an idea that yes, this is where I need to help. You can use it as a whole class learning using Mentimeter. Give them different colors and set it up, and if you are receiving, like everyone is choosing yellow, so that is a concept that needs to be reteach, revisit, or reinforce. If you are receiving a feedback from the learners all green, they all understood it, so it's good to go. And obviously you need to use it in along with the observation and the student feedback that you receive. The fun thing is these students, they love their language, so you can make it a little more funny and more student friendly. You can use abbreviations like EBI. Even better if you could have done this in this way. HTI, how to improve. Vinus, your next steps. WWW, what went well. So these are, some fun way to make your feedback more student friendly. Fine. Let's talk about techniques of preparing effective, whether you're working online or offline. What are the techniques that you should be using? What you should be using when you're preparing your assessments? So now most of us are involved in hybrid learning or blended learning. So we need to understand how we are infusing technology and using technology. It's good if you revisit SAMP model by Dr. Rubin, which suggests that how can the technology be infused or leveraged in an effective manner. It talks about how can we use technology to enhance learning, and how can we use technology to transform learning. So in this example, I'm going to show you how do you need to plan the learning. For example, if you want your students to reflect, so with the technology, it is possible that you are giving them opportunities to reflect by sharing a video. You are giving them an opportunity is to reflect by sharing a text or recording an audio. So here you are leaving more chances to receive the reflection in a way which student want to do. So there are more choices. So here we will discuss about principles of effective assessment design. I call it formula 7 plus 4 because it helps to empower and engage learners, engage students actively in identifying and formulating criteria. I have been stressing on this point. It is important that you alone are not designing the criterias, rather students together with you collaboratively discussing what is the success criteria look like, facilitating opportunities for self-assessment and reflection. I've shared various strategies how you can foster the culture of self-assessment and how you can make your learners more assessment capable learners, right? And deliver feedback that helps students self-correct. Your feedback shouldn't be coded, right, which students will find difficulty to crack. Your feedback should be specific, clear, timely, and most important, your feedback should be constructive, right? Provide opportunities for feedback, dialogue, peer and tutor student. So when students are involved in a dialogue, they receive feedback in a better way because it comes in a language which students understand, and they are more open to receive feedback from each other. And if we are building a culture of peer assessment, it adds more value to student learning. Encourage positive motivational belief and self-esteem. When students are self-assessing themselves, they become more self-reliant and self-directed. Provide opportunities to apply what is learned in a new task. Don't give them a task with low expectation. If they have learned something, give them a task where they are being challenged. Challenge should be appropriate. You know your learners at what they have achieved and what should be the next step. So give them a challenging task, a new one where they can use and apply their acquired knowledge. Yield information as teachers can use to shape teaching. While you are involved in the assessment design, make sure that there is a room of flexibility. Your lesson plan is not fixed, it's always flexible. You can move to and fro in your lesson plan to make it more better and to make it a better fit for your learners by shaping and reshaping your learning experiences. Second thing is engage. So 7 plus 4, we discussed about the 7 point, and now we are discussing about the more 4 point. Capture sufficient study time and effort in and out of class. So now when they are learning in online setting, there are many obstacles. So when you are teaching, delivering a concept, or they are learning a concept which is difficult, which require them to revisit, you can use various tools. You can use peer deck in the self-paced mode. You can use quizzes in the self-paced mode. Quizzes has what should I say, the flashcards mode as well. Quizzes has a quiz mode as well. You can use Nearpod in the self-paced mode. You can use at puzzle so that they can revisit what has been dealt in the class to develop a better understanding. Distribute students effort evenly across the topic and week. Learning should always be built on, and it should be divided into shorter chunks, especially in the online environment. So that they can interact well with the learning content which you are delivering. Engage student in deep, not just shallow learning activities. How can we involve them into deep learning? When we are using variety of visible thinking routine, when we are giving them opportunities to self-reflect, when we are giving them opportunities to collaborate and discuss the success criteria, so this learning become deep. So knowledge can be at a very surface level, and knowledge can be at the transforming level. So if you want your students to acquire knowledge and utilize it in a challenging situation, then students should be engaged in learning experiences which promotes deeper learning, right? Communicates clear and high expectation. Don't make your expectation very high and very low. You need to communicate that this is what is expected, and this is how the success look like, right? If they are writing an essay, then you should be giving them an exemplar that this is what we look for, and you're also giving an exemplar that these are the don'ts. So communicate the clear and high expectation to students. Students should be clear about what is being expected from them. Another, I would like to use this code, which is very impactful for me, that the most fundamental principle of effective feedback, that it should be given in a way which is more work for the recipient than the donor. So when you are giving feedback, and when it is clear, timely, concise, and to the point, it helps learners to use it, right? Otherwise that is a waste of time, and it was a monologue. So yeah, I'm ready for question and answers, and I hope I could add a little value with my little knowledge. So this is what I wanted to share. Do join me for the workshop on differentiation, where I'll be sharing different tools to differentiate learning and teaching practices. So it was really great talking to you all, although there is no opportunity to interact, and you can share your questions. And yeah, looking forward to collaborate with you all in a more better way. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.